Good morning, everybody on YouTube. This is Rick Thomas from Obsolete Video Services. Hey guys, we are servicing a VO-9800 for a customer that I'm going to be sending this to. It's out of the slew of 3/4 pneumatic decks that we have sitting here. This is a very, very high sought out deck, 9800, 9850. They're pretty much exactly the same deck. There's very little difference between them. But this is a VO-9800. This is one of the decks I've been working on this morning, and finally got this thing working really, really good. And so I just want to walk you through the repair on this particular deck. All right. When you have decks like this, especially 3/4 pneumatics, the real big problem with these decks is sticky tape. When tape starts getting very, very sticky, it starts putting drag on movable parts, and sometimes it will make them malfunction or short them out, or just make them wear out the bearings faster. All kinds of things happen. All right. When you have really bad tapes, like this machine, they were feeding a lot of sticky tape through it. There was so much buildup on everything. It wasn't even funny. It did come out of a TV station, so this looks like it was a very heavy used machine. But it doesn't look like the operating technician was keeping this machine very clean. And I know exactly why they stopped using it. It's because the machine shut down on them. Okay, and what happens with 3/4 pneumatic machines shut down, sometimes you have several problems. In this case, it really wasn't anything to do with the cards on the machine. Like I said, this thing was just used so much that nobody cleaned it. And that's a big problem when you have machines like this in machine rooms. The machine rooms get very, very dirty, and it's sticky tape, dirty videotapes, you name it. And that makes what's called buildup on all the drag and pins and the audio control heads. It builds up all kinds of gook inside, even on your drum and on your capstan motor, which was the case in this situation. All right, this thing kept coming up error codes. And, I got all the lubrication done on it and fixed the loading carriage that was broke. And it was still coming up loading error, error codes. It was throwing 5 or 6 different codes on this thing. Whenever you see something like that, through the experience of working on these for years, it's one or two things. Usually it's one thing, but sometimes it could be both. Okay? First problem was, you could see that the servo drum scanner unit was not initiating. So when you turn it on, it's supposed to move a little bit to let you know it's engaged and ready to work and ready to load the tape. This thing was not moving. So it was not engaging. So that most likely means we got a bad IC probably on this board, because it spins freely, but sometimes if the circuit board that powers the scanner is bad, it's not going to engage. So it looks like they must have had some sticky tape that dragged on the drum so much that it actually burnt out the circuit board on this scanner. And this scanner is absolutely dead because I did test it. All right, that was one of the problems. And then, of course, since they had very, very sticky tape in this unit, this thing was so filthy, it wasn't even funny. When they had sticky tape, they actually caused the capstan motor to burn out. Now this thing has a lot of noise. You can hear it, the bearings are dragging really, really bad. That means this thing had a lot of torque on it that actually wasn't supposed to, from sticky tape, that was causing the torque so high that it made this thing fail. So the bearings are really noisy, and of course probably an IC is something on this. So this thing had 2 failures. It had the entire scanner failure and the entire capstan motor failure. Both of these are shot. I did test them both to make sure I was correct, and they are. Both of these units are completely shot. So we replaced them. Replacements that I had here. Another fairly new scanner and another capstan motor. And after servicing everything else, voila, we got it back up and running. No error codes, no nothing. When you work on this stuff for years like I have, you kind of know how to identify the problems pretty quick. Since I knew these symptoms, I've seen these symptoms on these decks 100 million times, I knew exactly it was going to be either one or the other or both. And sure enough, it was both. So that's a common cause from being in machine rooms and sticky tape, lots of torque, lots of tension on the drums and the capstan motor. when it's too much tension because it's dragging across sticky material, it will short out one or the other. In this case, the situation was both. So we replaced both a scanner and a capstan motor, and we got that installed, and we did everything else with the roller, and rebuilt the loading ring motor and all that, fixed the loading carriage. I mean, this thing got a serious major overhaul. But since this is one of the higher end machines that everybody wants, you know, they're always worth fixing. But you got to have parts on hands, guys. This is why I do this, because most of the time I do have scanners or something on hand from machines that I cannibalized and kept the best parts to have them on hand in case I needed them. In this situation, I happen to have a 9800 about 6 months ago, and I kept the capstan motor and I kept the scanner, so we were able to swap them right into this one, and voila, it is now repaired. I mean, it's cool to see this stuff actually work once you identify the issues. But this thing was not working right at all. It threw about 4 or 5 error codes, and that's usually a sign of some major mechanical malfunctions, which is what it was. Scanner and capstan motor were completely shorted out. They would not even feed a tape through this deck. Unbelievable. So we got done fixing all the rubber and the loading mechanism, the loading motor, got the scanner and the capstan motor changed out, got the lower belts changed out. This thing was a complete rebuild overhaul, which took me about 2.5 hours. So I think Roy, the guy who's going to get this deck, is going to be very happy. This is a very, very nice machine. It's a sad thing I do not have side covers to it, but I do happen to have a beautiful top cover for it. So that's the only downfall on this machine is when the machine rooms at TV stations, they never keep the side covers. They throw them away because they put them on rails. And that sucks because they never keep the top covers and the side panels for these in case they sell them later on. You can fully assemble it back to how it was. It's a real tragedy, but anyways, we do not have side covers to this. We do have a top cover to it, and this is a very nice working machine. We did a complete rebuild. I mean, this thing was a complete rebuild overhaul. New capstan motor, new servo, upper and lower servo scanner drum. The scanner drum, upper head and drum, and the capstan motor. I mean, this thing was just overhauled big time. And then the loading mechanism ring, loading ring motor, belt and lubrication, capstan roller, loading carriage, on and on and on. This deck got a complete once over. So I hope you enjoyed this video.